So welcome everybody. The apologies, I've got apologies from Emma Risted and Babs Liscarden. I know she's emailed round actually to colleagues as well. She's stuck in Edinburgh waiting for a plane. Any other apologies at all? Simia, have you had any?
Yes, Tracy Ray sends our apologies, Kate Jarman and Mark Versailles.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest?
Oh, sorry, Kwame has his hand up.
Oh, does he? Sorry, I must remember. I've got to remember to up there. Hi, Kwame.
Hello. And there is also Mark Versalion, Claire Hill, and Hani El Deeb as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Good stuff. Minutes from the last meeting. Any omissions, errors that anybody spotted?
Just one. 3.1 refers to me and the Bob ICP. Just to get it correct, I'm the Mulberry Sector Health Alliance link into Bob and sit on one of their subcommittees, but I'm not a member of the board.
Right. Thank you. Great stuff. Yeah, maybe
that's an elevation. I don't know.
Yeah. Premonition, maybe. Thank you very much. Anything else from anybody? No. Thank you. So we can say those are approved. Going on to the action log then. Actually, the first one says around the rollout of MyCare. Do you want to pick that up?
Yes, certainly. I'm delighted to say that actually today we expanded significantly the functionality available within MyCare so that you can now receive all of your test results, and after a certain deliberate period of delay agreed by our clinical teams in the organisation, you will also receive their written diagnostic reports around MRI and CT. So the logic being that we want to give our patients access to all of their information to help individuals manage their care, and the devised clinical delay is to ensure that if there is any text in the written reports, the clinician has the opportunity to talk the patient through those written reports before they get there. Very different from your cholesterol level is X. You can go and have a look at that, but if you have an X-ray done and it says on there there's a shadow on the lung, if you're reading that as a patient without any formal explanation, it can be very disconcerting and concerning. So we have a devised clinical delay. It's good news.
Yeah, real jump forward.
Joe, can I just check something? I think there have been some different views among different clinical teams in the past, but the availability of the test results. Have we now reached a situation where there's a consensus across all clinical teams, or do we still have some differential departmental approaches?
I think, to use Kofi Annan's words in the past, we've reached a negotiated settlement, which it's always difficult to keep all of the people happy all of the time. I think ultimately, I am very much at the end of providing the patient with all the information immediately. A number of my colleague execs are at the delay slightly to allow that clinical explanation. I think the situation that we have reached should achieve the two main things that we are looking to achieve. One is to engage our patients better in their care and provide them with information on their device easily accessible. And secondly, as importantly, if not more so, it will, we hope, prevent patients from falling through any gaps that there might be if we miss a follow-up appointment to pull a patient in who has got some form of cancer or clinical issue, which we know has happened in the past and something we want to prevent.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree completely about us getting to this stage, but I know in kind of in more recent times, I think there have been different views amongst different departments, different clinical teams in terms of their how willing they were to engage with the full process.
Yes, and I suppose the final thing for me to say is what's interesting getting involved in the national work and patients getting their medical records on their phone it's very evident that the period of time between the patient having the test and the patient getting the result is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. As those electronic communications get connected up, the patient will, I have no doubt in my mind, be in a place eventually of having everything very, very quickly available.
You say they're just written reports. Is there any chance that patients might also be able to see their X-rays and that kind of thing?
Yes, and it's one of those situations whereby the memory it takes to enable the patient to get hold of some of these really, really complex scans on their phone, you have both a lack of definition and indeed a lack of memory to enable them to store it. Again, it's one of those things that as technology improves, I'm absolutely sure that my children will have their MR and CT results and scans on their phone. And it will probably happen next week now in the pace of technology. Not there yet.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for that, Joe. The next item, this is around whether the Integrated Care Board wanted to have any governor representation in the organisation. I managed to chase up and get a response, and they're not planning on having representation. I think the idea is, talking to Rima, the chair, is that there will be some sort of broader engagement with governors across the whole system going forward. But I know at the moment there's a lot of emphasis on getting the partnership working right as well. So yeah, we won't be having any Integrated Care Board representation in our governing body. Just so that's now clear where their position is. Any questions on that at all?
Will they report into boards to let them know what's going on? Because as I understand it, the Integrated Care Board, you know, the hospital is part of that.
Yes, yeah, we are. I mean, Joe does some updates, but also they do. That's the point, actually. They do. They circulate some updates, don't they? I'm just wondering, perhaps those haven't. I'm wondering if they've not been circulated to governors. Palmy, can we maybe pick that up? That we circulate the updates that the ICB board do. Their meetings are held in public as well. Usually on my report to the board, I put a link in for their papers, and so that anybody can, and those are recorded as well, I think, so anybody can look into those as well. But certainly we can circulate their updates. Thank you very much. The next one is due in October. The next one, community presentation, Alzheimer's Society. The update from Kwame there is that we're trying to get a response from the Alzheimer's Society, so that's being progressed. Kwame, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, we've arranged a meeting with them to progress this in August. So by the next meeting in October, there should be something more concrete.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So that's August. Lovely. And the Alzheimer's Society, the last one for me, that was around, we have been talking with colleagues, and I think in terms of discharge planning and things, there is quite a lot of discussion going on around working with partner organisations to see where we can engage with them to improve our discharge planning. But it's there's a lot of work going on around that, isn't it? Because it's quite a challenge. Okay. I don't know if colleagues have got any updates from that.
Just so if I may, the work that we've got going on through the execs with both Emma and also Yvonne about ensuring that not only do we have our patients ready for discharge earlier on in the day, the predicted date of discharge work to ensure that families and or other parts of the health and care system aren't surprised by a patient being discharged is really starting to add value to the way that we're doing things. And we've already seen a slight reduction, and I hasten to add a slight appropriate reduction in the length of stay of some of our patients. And our view is that we need to do more, can do more, and we're seeing those results already. So that's as a total group of patients, which of course also impacts on those patients with Alzheimer's and getting those preparations done.
Any questions?
No, it's not a question, it's just a point of information on that one, I think with Alzheimer's. I'm a dementia champion, although it probably needs updating a bit now because it was some time ago. But I'd be very happy to be involved in that because I did the session for the governors, but it must have been about 2015 or something.
Right.
So I just thought I'd
Yes, we'll love that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, anything that we've missed? Anybody picked up on? I don't think so. Going through them. No, thank you very much. My update, I've attached my report from the last board meeting for those that maybe haven't seen it, papers or didn't attend the meeting, but I've just got a couple of things verbally to update on. Just to confirm that the staff awards, it was another really enjoyable evening. Some fantastic nominations. I think we had 900 nominations this year. It was extraordinary. Yeah, across the organisation. So, you know, some really appreciative nominations coming through. So it was a lovely evening. For the NHS's 75th birthday, we had 3 team cake sessions in the hospital, and for those of you that didn't attend, you missed the most amazing cake created by our catering manager.
Did you have to attend all 3?
I did a couple. Frank Fiore, our catering manager, made the most astonishing cake. There's some great pictures of it, actually.
He was all 900 of the nominations. Wasn't he?
Yes. So it was a great way to mark it, actually, particularly in the current climate. It's difficult to know exactly how to celebrate, but it was a good way of doing it, I think. I'm also delighted to be able to say that we now have the Ministry of Defence Employer Recognition Scheme Gold Award. This is for the forces under the Forces Covenant, which in fact we only just joined just over 2 years ago. So it's an astonishing achievement and some fantastic work going on, not least with Johanna, who is heavily involved in that. But there's we've got a great bunch of people in the organisation, and they talk about taking can-do to the nth degree. So it's a real, it's amazing accolade actually for the organisation. So we're delighted with that. And recently we've been having some more discussions with Arts for Health, Milton Keynes, exploring further partnership working, and they're also looking to access external funds which might help us, and obviously we want to work in partnership with them. But they're really looking at the broader thing, not just around the pictures on the walls, but also around well-being, staff engagement and input. You know, we've got some very creative people. And I know Joe's quite interested in using some of the wall space, because we've got so much wall space in the organisation, but using it possibly for other things as well. You know, a bit more sort of innovative and getting messages across and celebrating the diversity in our workforce and all sorts of things. So there's quite a bit of excitement around that, and it will be great next year. I think the applications are, if this external funding can be obtained as well, that would be a huge plus. And just to adjust the other updates that I had from my report at the board. Any questions anybody got for me? Thank you very much. I'll hand over to Joe for his update.
Thank you, Alison. Not quite a happy note to start with, because obviously I will report back on the strike action and the impact that we've had in our organisation. We were, in many respects, fortunate not to be impacted by the nursing strike, whilst the vast majority of those nurses who did vote for strike action they did vote for strike action. We did not have the requisite 50% nurses to go out on strike. That's not been the same for our junior doctors or consultants, which were done on a different level. And so we have unfortunately had to cancel a number of patients for both the 4-day junior doctors strike and the 2-day consultant strike. Just to be clear, we absolutely support individual professionals who are withdrawing their labour on the basis of a legally constituted ballot. The argument is between the unions and the government, and I think we have been able to maintain very sensible and appropriate relationships with the different professional bodies in our organisation. And indeed, the radiographers went out on strike, I'm going to say yesterday.
Well, you voted again.
Just okay, even having voted right. So we've cancelled a fairly significant number of patients, as have every other organised acute hospital in the country, unfortunately. And we are trying to rebook those patients as quickly as we possibly can. I am pleased to say that we have not had any significant incidents reported to us around safety issues on the back of the strike action within the organisation. But clearly, the longer people wait, the more likely it is that those individuals who are waiting for procedures are going to be impacted by those delays. As a consequence of that, just to sort of put on formal record for the governors, we did cancel an audit afternoon for the organisation last Wednesday because we felt that a combination of the junior doctor strikes, the consultant strikes, and indeed heading into August, we had too many urgent and emergency patients waiting to be seen and treated. So we spoke to the consultant body. They obviously raised concerns about us being a teaching hospital and wanting to ensure this was not a precedent, which we are very clear it's not a precedent. But the clinical body did agree that on this occasion it was the right thing to do. So that's what we did. So just for everybody to be aware of that, and we will of course try and treat as many of those cancelled patients as quickly as we possibly can. I'll then come on to a couple of other things. The Gold Award, likewise, absolutely the Department of Health very clearly support what Alison said. It was fantastic to by the team here and really does demonstrate our ability to make sure we support our armed forces, which is fantastic. And then finally, we have just opened our endoscopy and clinical suite at White House. And this is part of a broader strategy for the hospital. As Milton Keynes grows in size, what we are doing is ensuring that we do put diagnostic hubs around Milton Keynes to support primary care, to support our patients accessing services without all having to come to the hospital site. And that will continue over multiple years, and with a view that we do, as I say, enable patients to access local services. So that's very positive, and we are planning another local hub over the next sort of 12-18 months as well. Finally, to finish on the good news, we have been allowed to start the business cases for the new hospital programme. So the first two business cases that will be written are, and it's a shame John isn't here because it's desperately exciting. First business case is to increase the electricity supply to site. You can imagine how exciting that is. Clearly, you can't have all of the latest medical kit without having plugs to plug into. And as MK grows, the electricity supply is critical. So that's happening. We're doing a business case for that. And then alongside that, we're doing a circa £20 million business case for the diagnostic centre. So as you walk around the site now, you'll see various big call them boxes, but outside the treatment centre, the big containers that you see on cargo ships. Those are holding MRI and CT scanners. And what we're doing is we're bringing all of those into one big building just around the back of the emergency department. And that business case will be done over the next 3 or 4 months or so.
Yeah, it's very busy. Any questions?
Joe, oh, sorry.
After you go,
Keith, you're such a charm. But I believe I'm right in saying that a large proportion, a significant portion of electricity is generated by solar. Is that the development of the power? Are we going to try and upscale the solar as well, or are we running out of roof space? Or and it's just a general interest question.
No, it's a very good question and relates directly to our green agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Two things. One is our expectation is that we will generate up to 15% of our electricity here on current usage through our solar panels. Secondly, you may or may not be aware that we were successful in getting a Salix bid, whatever that stands for, but that was effectively around about £4.5 million to move away from oil-fired boilers to air source heat pumps and gas-powered boilers, and also the replacement of some windows and some cladding and insulation. So absolutely clear that we will not let the development of this site go ahead without keeping one eye firmly on that.
So at the very least, we're going to try and maintain parity.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
And we have agreed and signed up to the council's net carbon zero by 2030 pledge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, you're talking about the power coming here. We got over the MK East being about 5,000 homes. To run major bearers from basically the A5 down the A3 and also electricity to bring enough power just into that area. That then leads on to, might the next diagnostic centre be at MKE when there's going to be a major community health centre there? It's ideal. The right time to put them in is at the build point rather than retrofit. So I hope that would be on the agenda to at least look at that.
So yes, absolutely. I did say to our consultant body yesterday that I never knew power and electricity could create so much excitement. So we are unfortunately having to dig up once this business case gets approved, which it will do, we will have to dig up a significant number of roads to get the power from further north in MK to get down to the hospital. So whilst I love blaming Michael Bracey at the council for so many things, I think over the forthcoming year or so, it will unfortunately, if you are delayed in traffic, probably next year, be down to the hospital and the requirement to bring that power supply here. We have also worked with the council to ensure that, precisely as you described, Keith, that where we are wishing to put big sort of NHS kit in for the future, for want of a better term, there is a plug that works because they are big supplies.
I think it's generally that everything that moving forward, going back to when you bought the first house, there might be 12 sockets around the house. There's now probably 144 sockets for everything. And as you say, Joe, the power requirement, let alone the number of them, is exponentially increasing.
I mean, if I could just reinforce that, not that I'm getting terribly excited about electricity, I think the issue that's been raised is the problems caused if you don't get it. I know I've recently been involved with a development of a school on the West Bank. It's due to open in September and nearly didn't because exactly that kind of connection problem to create enough power for the school to work.
Exactly, and again, this is if I sort of finish off by saying what I think is remarkable about the estates team here, words I never thought I would say, are that they have got that eye on the future that allows our projects to continue when, as you say, so many others get stopped because what was true then is no longer true now because of the pace of development in Milton Keynes. So I think our team do a fantastic job on that.
Thank you very much. I've just looked in the chats actually because I noticed there were some things going in, and Yolanda, I think, has just put in a question around regarding the extra diagnostic hubs. Are there plans to support the extra workload in pathology?
So the expectation is that those diagnostic hubs will be a combination of both heavy machinery, for want of a better description, so staffed by radiologists, radiographers around MR and CT. The initial work that we will be running over the next year or so for any work that would impact on pathology would be an element of substitution of those patients who would have come onto the main site would be being done more locally. So it's a patient experience benefit. And we recognise that will only be for next year. And then demand will further increase. But certainly in the short term, that's the expectation.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Capital programme update. Joe, you're picking this up for John, are you? Or he's got you down?
I am, absolutely. When John said he couldn't come, I quite appreciated that. Slightly more seriously, I won't go through what's there, but what I talked about the new hospital programme. I think what is clear is that the scale of the capital programme this year continues to exceed pretty much all of our local partner hospitals around what we are doing in how the developments are coming forward. There are some seriously major programs that are in train at the moment. We're waiting on a couple of points of clarification, shall I say, from our NHS England colleagues around the final amount for 23-24. For those of you that are laughing, it's because it's currently nearly August and we haven't got that final point of clarification yet.
Sounds normal.
Exactly. But I think rather than talk through what can be a relatively dry topic, what we did agree with John the other day was that he would do a much more enlightening flyover talk through with the full artist impression and slides and so on around how the site is developing.
Yeah.
So I think if that would be helpful to council governments, we'll bring that back again because things aren't moving at a pace.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and we've got a record then, which would be very handy. And
Yeah.
should people want to dip into it and have a look.
I just, sorry, it's me again.
And so,
Just clarify something about an off-site development, the Lloyd's Court CDC, just a little bit more about that.
So the Community Diagnostics Centre.
Yes.
Community Diagnostics Centre, we are looking to put ophthalmology as one of our main services into the Lloyd's Court development. The logic and the reason for that is that we have a number of services on our hospital site that do not need the full facilities of an acute hospital, but are part of, as you would expect, our sort of workload. And clearly you don't want to run an emergency department without having an ophthalmology department to support. So we are balancing at the moment, until we get our new hospital, how do we continue to develop services? Ophthalmology has one of our largest waiting times as a hospital within limited space. So if we can give them their own facility, they are a mostly planned service here. That's the sort of thing that we're looking to do.
Location's got nothing to do with the fact that Specsavers are just across the road. Other options are available.
everything.
The opposite.
Just to illustrate what Joe was saying, so the expectation is that the facility at White House Park and once constructed and open, hopefully early next year, Lloyd's Court will do about 22,000 tests off site, ranging from MRI, non-obstetric ultrasound, right the way through. Yeah, it's big, and the demand there, as Joe said, population's growing, and these are conveniently accessed facilities in the Keene. So it's a big government priority. We're pretty pleased because we've got 2 of these centres, so they're both under construction now, so they're coming online pretty soon. Quite exciting times for the team.
Yeah.
On the general point, that area and Lloyd's Court is beginning to look a lot tidier now after many years of neglect, with some of the new businesses moving in there, having the diagnostic centre there to top it off, but add to what's there would be really good news.
Yeah.
Positive development, absolutely.
As you just mentioned, ophthalmology, I was actually here in my department a few weeks ago. Absolutely excellent, fantastic, brilliant teamwork, marvellous. That's great.
Great. Thanks so much, Shirley. That's really good to hear. Any other questions? No, thank you very much. Now we've got our feedback board committee from Bev on we hope Bev's having sound problems, but we're hoping she's going to try. Just to explain, those are the hotel, so connections are different. I don't know. Oh no, lost her. Yes.
She will.
I know she turned the
She will
camera
need to.
Oh, she's turned the camera.
Yeah.
She'll need to mute her sound on her computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can hear me, Bev.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh God, fantastic! I'm sorry. I'm now having to bend down because I'm on a tiny little phone.
That's brilliant. Well, at least we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about this.
No worries, Bev. Because we've got your paper, which
Right.
hopefully everybody's had a chance to look through.
Oh, I think I'm looked upside down now. Oh my God. Right. Okay.
That's fine. No, that's grand. You're good.
Good. Okay. Well, I'll assume everybody's read the paper.
Just a few comments for governors. You'll see that we've had some NED turnover during the year in the Quality Committee. So Helen left as chair sort of this time last year. I took over as interim chair, and now Dev is the new chair. So we've had some turnover, but we've had great continuity with Alison attending, I think, all the meetings, so that we've had that NED continuity and consistency. I think overall, I think the committee would say it's received a good level of assurance from the exec. They're very open to scrutiny and challenge, and we've made progress in a wide number of areas as detailed in the report, and I'm not going to go through every one. I think it is worth shining a light on the progress that we've made on the focus on pressure ulcers, and Yvonne and the team have been doing a huge amount of work there. A real root and branch review of everything around pressure ulcers in the hospital, and that's continuing, and we hope to see that continuing to improve over time as the quality improvement programme really starts to kick in. But that's really positive news story. We noted good use of patient feedback, and the quality improvement plans feed into that, which is excellent. The committee were keen, obviously, through the year, and Joe's already mentioned the impact of the industrial action. And so we asked specifically in relation to business continuity planning for that and minimising disruption and harm. And obviously, although we can't completely eradicate all of that, we were assured that good processes were in place to manage that process. We've had, as you've seen in the report, a number of our regular annual reports, so safeguarding, safe working hours, annual complaints. So obviously we've spent a lot of time and attention going through those. I think it's worth noting on the complaints, there has been an increase. I don't always see that as a negative. I think one of the things we've been doing over the last 12 months is really encouraging feedback. Be that positive or negative, because you learn a lot from negative feedback. And we've done quite a lot of analysis on the causes of complaint issues. And as you'll see from the report, a huge amount is to do with communication failure. And there's a lot of work going on in Kate's team around improving that. We focused on the risks that the committee manages, and particularly around the head and neck cancer pathway that you see in the report. And I know that's something that Joe is absolutely on top of, and we talk about on a sort of regular basis at board. In fact, I think that usually comes up at every board meeting, not only the quality committee. And in addition to everything in the report, because you can see there's a huge amount of information that we look through and scrutinise, what I think is really critical for me to give you assurance as a Council of Governors, as the chair of the committee, is that myself and non-exec directors undertake numerous ward visits to supplement the committee work that we do. I've got a buddy in Yvonne, and we do sort of unannounced visits to wards and you know, regularly wander around, and it gives me the opportunity to really triangulate what I see from the executive in a formal committee environment with actually what's going on the ground. And again, pleased to report there is a lot of correlation. Feels like that we really do get the full picture, and there is a real openness in the hospital and a culture of learning. So when we do find out things that are not so great, actually we put a plan in place to improve those. And that's all I want to say, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Bev. Any questions for Bev? William?
It's maybe a question for Joe rather than Bev, but just focusing on the head and neck cancer pathway. You know, clearly there's a major issue there, and it might be helpful if governors were just informed a bit more of the background in terms of what was the key thing coming out of the serious incident report. And I'm working on the assumption that head and neck is still dealt with in Northampton. I guess that's part of the issue.
So yes, you will know that we have relationships with tertiary providers for a whole series of cancers.
Yeah.
Our relationship with head and neck cancer is with Northampton. and has been for a number of years. We have moved other tertiary relationships for other cancers to Oxford. We still have both gynae and head and neck with Northamptonshire. The issue that we are grappling with is a relatively small number of patients and a relatively small clinical team here and a relatively small clinical team at Northampton and a very complex pathway. And where we ultimately want to end up, and we've agreed it with our commissioners and we've agreed it with the specialist commissioners who commission these patients, is with Oxford. Oxford quite rightly want to ensure that they have the capacity and all of the processes in place to accept these relatively small number of patients, but complex patients. And that work's going on at the moment and is taking time. In the meantime, we are doing our best, and I think Northampton are doing their best to make sure that we manage these patients on an individual patient basis. It is not a satisfactory pathway, and I think everybody involved recognises it's not a satisfactory pathway, and we want to change it. We are at the moment beholden to Oxford to give us the green light because everybody else is in agreement. That's not a criticism of Oxford, it's just being, they quite rightly do not want to accept these patients until they can give them a proper full service.
Okay, thank you. And you just touch on, I mean, obviously we're going back a long time now, and well, only 22, only a year. Just say something a bit more about the incident that kind of generated and contributed to the concern.
So the incident, and one that we have seen on a relatively infrequent recurrence, has been around delays in diagnosis.
Right. Okay.
Across the entirety of the pathway. So if I give you a sense of it, you come into our organisation and we think you may have a head and neck cancer, we will work you up here. We'll give you the MR or the CT and do a level of diagnostics and then send you and that package of diagnostics over to Northampton, who will evaluate through their multidisciplinary team what form of treatment should happen to you, carry out that treatment, whether it's surgery or otherwise, and then send you back to us for your follow-up care. Every time, and it's recognised problem within the healthcare system, every time there's a handoff between a clinician, be it within the same organisation or different organisation, it increases the risk. The more complex the patient, the more complex the handover, the greater the risk. And we have unfortunately seen patient harm on the back of not getting those handovers as perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just wondered if the trust has done any risk assessment against staff working at home against the display screen equipment regulations.
We have absolutely, we ask staff to undertake the risk assessment of working whilst working at home. We have a policy in place, and anybody working at home should be undertaking the trust's recognised working at home policy. That is in place, and we not only do we ask them to carry out the risk assessment where there are concerns raised, we will, if appropriate, and I am choosing my words carefully, if appropriate, ensure that that individual's working environment at home is changed to support the individual working. Now, clearly there is a balance. We cannot afford as an organisation to pay for a perfectly serviceable chair at the hospital as well as a perfectly serviceable chair at home for the individual if they have particular needs across every individual. So we do it on a case-by-case basis. A good example of that is one of our consultants who runs a clinic at home has got a particular screen at home that we have provided because they need a certain type of definition, as do our radiologists, who likewise have high definition screens in order that they can carry out them.
Keith.
Couple of points. Thank you, Beth, for the narrative around the report. In the report, it talks the annual claims report, the committee was informed that NHS resolution encouraged NHS providers to settle claims faster. So have we got any metrics yet whether we are settling the claims faster, or is there a target we're trying to hit that's a national target? It's a very vague statement that make it quicker, but how much quicker and what are the outcomes?
So there is a national target that is out with the control of the organisation, so we don't get involved in those claims specifically done through NHS litigation. That target is not being met nationally, and it is up to the national team and the work that they do to meet that target rather than us. Where I think we have got a lot better in the past is ensuring that claimants are aware of the process for getting to a legal situation. So we are very open to our patients and their families if they do wish to claim, and we give them all of the information as necessary.
Thank you for that. And the second point is on point 4, the annual complaints report, which sorts through 1,044 complaints, 161 formal, 83. Whilst that is a 25% increase, that's still a very, very small percentage of the number of patient interactions that come through this hospital in a year. So I think we should be actually pleased that is low. And I take Bev's point that it's important that people do let us know what they think has gone wrong, because there's lessons that can be learned from things. Sometimes people are right, sometimes they're wrong. But on the other side, it'd be nice to see how many letters of or compliments that we've received anyway as a balance against complaints, because we're very good as a country about complaining. Not many people say thank you. I know we get in the hospital, there's walls of cards there, but if we get a letter that it expands on thank you for the service, I think that would be good to just see that as people. I think that's actually quite a good number, 161 formal and 883 informal over a year.
Yeah.
The staff should be thanked for that. They're getting most of it right most of the time.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith. Go on, did you want to comment?
I'll just expand on the positive side, because you're absolutely right. We want to do well for our patients, and we want to hear their feedback. So we use a really innovative approach. We use the patient experience platform. So we gather up from social media, from all of the external sources, as well as the individual patients themselves. And digitally and electronically, I can look at it from a trust-wide perspective, but I look at it as an individual ward area. So we have a process called ward assurance, and the top score that you can get on the patient experience platform is 5, and we're consistently around 4.4 and 4.5 on that. But we pull out then the individual pieces of feedback. The ward leaders access it themselves anyway, but there are individuals that we want to share and celebrate. In particular, we want to learn how things go well for patients and how we can use that to replicate. So that's all part of the patient experience board and what we're doing about promoting positive experience within the hospital. Very good for the staff to actually see how small things make a huge difference. And I'll also take on board what you're saying about complaints. What we really want to be able to see is that our interactions with our patients, so in terms of complaints, that we've equipped our staff to deal with the complaint or the concern immediately at the bedside in a way that gives prompt and swift resolution. So yeah, increases in complaints, formal complaints. We want to see all of this coming together and forward and on.
Yeah, thank you.
That local resolution is really important because it's great, because it's a cultural thing as well. People get used to dealing with complaint. Andrew.
Just going on to others, that mentions difficulties in staff recruitment and retention leading to staff shortages. I just wondered whether that was particular to here or whether it's a national picture, because I hear from people elsewhere who say that that there's a big problem with people emigrating and so forth.
So we're in a very, I guess this is a report of a snapshot in time, and the progress we've made on recruitment is phenomenal. We will be fully recruited by September. So we have pipelines of people that we've recruited. So this is for our registered nurses and our registered midwives. We're actually in the position where we're over recruiting. It is a very fortunate. I haven't seen a hospital in this position for a long time. It's a huge it's a huge thing to celebrate the focus of our activity now that we're at that point, so that that doesn't come without a suite of other things that you need to deal with. And those other things that we need to deal with is that we do have a workforce that is of which a significant proportion are newly registered. So we need to make sure in order to retain those, so that recruitment and retention comes hand in glove. I've been commissioning education today to make sure that we have really meaningful career pathways that allow people to flourish. All of the things that are in this report are probably drawn out into the education that we're looking at. So we have a revised approach to tissue viability that's new. It's seen our pressure damage cut in half. We've got a revised approach to how we will train and prepare people for the prevention and management of falls. And that's a real big balancing act, because the natural tendency when you're worried about somebody is they're going to fall is to keep them in bed. We don't want people to be kept in bed. We don't want them to be deconditioned. So we actually really, the expertise that's invested in the multidisciplinary team to keep people up and moving in a safe and actually forward moving way is really important. So you see that in the hospital where we're moving to having people out of beds. I was really pleased that we do a care assurance visit on a Tuesday. And so we go out as independent peers across the whole of the hospital, and it gives you a really good lens as to what's happening. And what I'm seeing is that patients are not in bed, which is really encouraging, but that education matters. So we're looking at all of the pathways, including advanced practice. So that's the next bit of that retention work.
Does that apply to doctors as well?
It applies to, well, so for me, I commission the education for the nurses and AHPs.
Because I'm aware that there are lots of vacancies for doctors' posts across the country, and I wondered if the same applied here.
So I can say that we're fully recruited on our medic line as well. It's very, very unusual. I haven't seen it in a long time. The area that we would be most concerned about would be our healthcare support workers, and that's probably the focus of all of our attention will shift once we have our registered colleagues entirely in post. We're already have quite a detailed improvement program. So this is about recruiting the right kind of candidate. So if we go for mass recruitment events, we're putting candidates who are not maybe suitable or don't really fully understand the role. We need folks to really understand the role and have some experience of it before we recruit. And that can be quite challenging. Again, we forget about, we think of healthcare support workers as trained and untrained. They're not untrained. They're all trained. We all go through a care certificate preparation. We have registered and unregistered, and they also need careers in which they can develop their skills. So again, the commissioning of that education to make sure that we're moving everybody forward in the one direction will help us to retain them in the hospital for longer periods of time, which gives us improvements in the quality that we're seeing at the moment.
I think it's fair to say, I mean, in terms of the consultants, because I know I'm down to chair a couple of panels later on in the summer around some substantive consultant posts. But as I understand, I think in terms of local, we can make sure those areas are covered. So there is that medical oversight. I mean, one thing I would say, because I've got a colleague as well who's an allied health professional, but we do have some areas, other areas of the hospital where we do, and it's a national issue, is the number of people, not least pharmacy. The private sector is far more attractive for many people because the NHS has, sort of rotas and on-calls and all sorts of things. So that's always a challenge.
Yes, yeah, challenge for us.
Yeah. So that is receiving a similar sort of focus that these other areas of our organisation as well. So it's something always keeping an eye on. Yeah.
I'd only add in terms of the doctors. I think there's sometimes issues with some of the training posts in terms of DV rotations, and we'll have a slot for a doctor to rotate into. We don't always get the supply. What Yvonne says relative to other hospitals, the organisation seems fantastically well in attracting people in, and then the next challenge is really retaining them given the marketplace. Your opening points about the context and what's going on nationally, it is an international issue. This clinical workforce. NHS England, you may have seen in BBC and other outlets published a workforce plan about a fortnight ago, and that's the first national one for over a decade. It's long overdue. I would characterise the hospital as saying we do very, very well in terms of competing, and that's because of the facilities and the investment that goes into it and the way the staff are looked after. But it can be a lot easier if we get the supply lines right, because when you look over the next decade, the number of people we need coming through doctors and nurses, pretty much every profession, there's big shortages forecast. So it's delicately poised, even though when you look at our statistics and our metrics around it, on the face of it, it looks like we're doing pretty well, but there's a fragility there nationally.
Keeping an eye on it, Keith.
Pick up on what Andrew said then, just by our colleagues from hospital. Is there therefore a reduction in staff costs if we're not going so many locums? And that be used to increase the headcount if necessary?
So I think we can certainly talk for the cost side of it. There's examples of high end and lower costs across the organisation, depending on challenges in individual service lines. So when you look, generally speaking, our fill rate, if I take the nursing professional group, I think we began the year with something like a 13 or 14% turnover rate, and the target is probably about 8 or 9, isn't it? It's certainly single digit. We're expecting by late September, early October to be underneath that number, and immediately that brings down the cost of the temporary workforce, whether that be agency or bank supply, and the enhancements that you have to put in to encourage people to work those extra shifts. We'd have all seen, I think, the headlines around the industrial actions and the dissatisfaction nationally with pay terms and conditions. And organisations, because that has been an issue for a number of years, not just this year, it's the first year it's getting the headlines because of the strike actions, but organisations for a number of years have had to put premiums into hourly rates to attract people to keep on working. And if I take another example, so one big thing we're doing to try and increase our substantive fill, mostly in nursing, but with pockets of other professional groups, is international recruitment. We're bringing in, by the end of this year, I think it'll be about 225 international nurses, which is fantastic because they'll become part of the substantive workforce. But when you have individuals like that coming into a new country, learning our own guidance and professional standards and getting their conversions for qualifications, the length of time that will take is probably somewhere between sort of 3 to 5 months minimum. And during that time, you can't count them in your staffing ratio. So then you've got the premium staffing cost of the supernumerary cover and everything else. So it's not a cheap business keeping the workforce happy and staffed. But once we get that substantive fill up and then importantly retain it, you start to see the pay bill come down.
Sounds very complex.
It's lots and lots of spinning plates, basically.
Yeah.
Diagrams all over the place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just conscious of time and moving forward, so thank you very much. Bev, thank you very much for that report. And just did a very good discussion actually around some key issues, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll drop off and drop back on again.
Yeah, it's okay, no longer need your voice.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks very much. I'm just going to mess around with the agenda. I want to pull forward item 11 because we have Melda here with us, our TV lead nurse, who's doing a presentation to us. So welcome. Thank you very much for coming along today. And it's really to give us some oversight on the TV services. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison, and good afternoon. And all right, so this is hopefully it just won't take a lot of your time. So yeah, I'm representing the TV service here in Milton Keynes. We are based in a hospital, but we work both in acute and community setting. So I just would like to say thank you to Kwame and Louis for inviting me to attend and present the TV service. So first of all, the TV team is comprises of the TV consultant, this is Dr. Raza, and on the presentation there. And for pediatrician, we have Dr. Anguba and all the trust physicians. So they are our clinical consultants who look after TV patients. So from the nursing side, we are 3 in the team. So I am the lead nurse, and then I have Band 6, Heather, and the TV support worker. And then management-wise, we are managed by the Director of Infection Control, Angela Gate, and Medicine and Matron in Medicine, and Elizabeth Winter. Okay, so what do we do as MK services? So we have clinic once a week in the hospital where we see patients who have been referred to us for contact tracings. As we all know that TB we are very keen on screening patients who are identified household contacts. So we receive referrals from different parts of the country or from Yoki HSA. So we do screening in clinic, and then we do bloods for them, and we do baseline eye screening in view of the one of the drugs effects on the eyes. So we take this as an opportunity to educate patients and relatives to raise TB awareness, because until now we still have negative stigma of TB. So it's a little bit of a story, because recently when one of the healthcare worker in the hospital was screened for TB, the result came back positive for TB in the spot. So she went into panic, did not go to work. So this really kind of like encourage us to make sure that both the public and the healthcare workers are aware of what is infectious TB and what is not, what it is not. So we have two kinds of TB. Infectious TB, where you spread TB, you have active in the lungs. We can have TB all over parts of the body, eyes, tongue, joints, and spine. So those are not infectious. So it's very, very surprising to know that even in the hospital, this misinformation really creates a lot of panic and questions. So I'm very keen to raise TB awareness. And then we do visit the community. So next month. So I have a slide there. So these are the team there. We, in support of, in continuing our aim to raise TB awareness, we participated in the World TB Day in March. So we distributed leaflets all over the hospitals, and then we talked to general public, and raise TB awareness. So when we do visit the community, we do bloods as well, and we visit the secured facility as well. And it was a bit of an experience. Okay. And then, as we all know, that compliance with TB treatment is essential to the cure of illness. So as our service tried our best to make sure that they are compliant, so we have identified 4 patients so far who have a very challenging issue in terms of compliance. So I did a little bit of audit where we identified factors that, we are not adherent in terms of adherence. So some of them because of fear, some of them because lack of education, some of them individual attitude that, the treatment of TB is 6 months, and 2 months when you feel better, they stop it. So it doesn't work that way. So we have again to call into clinic and re-educate our patients. So, and when the patient is not compliant, we refer them for video observed therapy, which costs the trust a lot of money. So that's the challenges that we are facing at the moment. So having identified the factors of poor compliance, I did some bit of, based on the NICE guidelines, on some strategy that hopefully this will improve encourage patient to take their medication. It's really a lot of encouragement and a lot of time for us to really make sure this thing is happening. It's a 6 months treatment. So it is a big commitment on the part of the patient. So I did some I have identified a patient that needs support in terms of taking medications. I have to see them in clinic, and I have to ask them to submit urine, because you can tell if they're taking it correctly because the color of the urine makes it orange. So that's one of the things that I did. And then I have to count their tablet against the tablets dispensed. And then I have to see them face to face and re-educate. So that's one study so far. So the TB service can be contacted. The TB service can be found in the Trust website, and there's a contact number, and we work Monday to Friday. And then I just would like to share some activities that we did in the community. We have visited so far 8 charity organizations where we distribute leaflets. So a few weeks ago, we were in Community Bridge community where we talk to the patients about TB. We distribute leaflets about tuberculosis, and that is very encouraging because people, engaged and participated and listened. And then our aim from the TB service is hopefully we can penetrate, or we can go into nursing homes and the schools. So that's about the FKTB service. And then with this activity that we have, we hope that as World TB theme last March, that yes, we can end TB. And with this as a collaborative effort, as each one has a role to play to prevent spread of tuberculosis. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. That's great.
What sort of prevalence is it then now, TB?
So far, as compared to other localities, Luton and Milton Keynes, Milton Keynes is low at the bottom. I think for the past 5 years, it doesn't go up to 30 for active TB, at 30 patients. However, there are quite a number of latent TB, which is dormant or sleeping TB. So a lot of people doesn't know about sleeping TB. So yeah, so far.
Yeah, it's
That's
something
where-
everybody's forgotten about, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, some people,
I've gone.
and yes, some people say, oh, there's no TB. Yes, there is. Unfortunately, that we have to make sure people are aware, and anytime they can contact us, so they will be given advice appropriately. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I just think, I mean, certainly when I was at school, we had our BCG, for TB, and it did seem to, it felt like it was eradicated. But I guess now that, everybody travels so much, don't you? So the whole world is sort of, moving around in a sense.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's not surprising that diseases do crop up again, don't they? So you're right. We need education.
I mean, having BCG vaccine doesn't give you 100% guarantee that you
No.
won't be able to get, because at some point in our lives, our immunity goes down. So
Yeah,
we can
so
catch
still possible.
anything. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Leslie.
No, I'm just going to say, when you said 30 patients, is that 30 patients per year? How
Yeah.
many new cases are diagnosed per year, approximately?
Below 30 every year. So this year
New
we are at
cases.
7. Yes.
Yeah.
So today, on the 7th month of this year, we have now 17 patients. Well, actually 18 because I saw one yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So 18 patients, and they have different types of tuberculosis.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and I have 18 months old baby.
Really?
Yeah, so it is really very challenging because I have to see them at home, support the mother is very stressed. It's difficult to give, this
Yeah.
medication for children.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's tough. Yes.
Yes, it's from newborn to.
To adults. I'm just wondering if people would be interested. Could we circulate your slides to?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember if
All information that we have.
Yeah, I read it a computer.
Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or any, and then,
Thank you very much.
thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You're very welcome to stay if you want to, otherwise.
It's all right if I go. No, I'm going to see my patients still.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Going back then to item 10, place audit. Is anybody picking this up? Because we've got head of hotel services, but Stephen's not here.
So Barney has his hand up.
Oh, Kwame.
Yeah, I was expecting him, but he's not here. So
Oh.
I don't know whether to move it to October or to maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we've got, what have we got? We've got this report here, haven't we? Yeah, just make sure I'm doing the right agenda item. Okay, which I'm sure everybody's had a look at. Shall I just ask, is there anything from this? Because we can ask Stephen to come.
Just a comment on the
Oh, comment.
question. I was doing Newport Pagnell Carnival a few weeks ago,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people actually came and said, I've been in hospital and the food was great.
Really?
Which, I mean, hospital food used to be a byword for
Gonna say, yeah.
absolutely dreadful, but
That's very impressive,
it's good that they're coming and saying
Yes,
it was good.
the food was good.
And I did actually have a tour of hotel services a while ago, and gave me the food sample, and it was amazing.
Yeah. They are very good. They're very good.
Obviously changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, when I came here, I was really impressed, and I saw, I met up with Frank and he discussed all the sort of plans he had and things like that, and he works very
I mean, I
closely with
remember when I
dietitians.
first started working here, walking around the corridors and thinking, God, do people have to eat that smell?
Yeah, I know, it's moved on.
Yeah.
hugely. So I'm just wondering, in terms of, I mean, obviously this just gives an overview and some key themes. We can ask Frank to come back, or if there are questions, obviously we can raise them with him and get those circulated. I don't know what would colleagues like to, how would you like to do this?
The comment, looking at the chart,
Yeah,
the three items that are where we are below national are all food related, all the others were above. So
Yeah.
it is important, and I agree with Stuart that the old fashioned smell of boiled to death cabbage is no
Yes.
longer in every corridor.
no,
But and they're not far away, and I agree, having sampled some of the food at place last year, it was good. So it's a question again of the statistics. You can say lots of things, but is there a real difference between what we're seeing here and its perception? Some people will never like the food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we can't think about whether that's built into the tables here. So maybe a bit more explanation might be helpful.
right, yes, around that. Yvonne?
I can't really step in for Stephen, but I know from the patient experience board, what we're looking at is, so we know from the national inpatient surveys that actually the food bit is the areas where we're getting incremental improvement. So I suppose that's the snapshot in time is very relevant. Patients are finding the digital ordering system really useful, helpful. It's making sure that they get the right meal in the way that they ordered it. So that seems to be working really well. There's an awful lot of work around this ongoing. We've got huge plans in place to affect environmental planning and decluttering on it.
Are we doing another place this year?
I couldn't answer that actually. I don't need to do it every year.
Yeah,
I don't know offhand, actually.
Yeah.
We
need to confirm with Stephen.
and that would just add to what you've just said.
Yeah.
The improvements, that was last September, and if we can show an improvement 0.5% on each of those, that's absolutely.
Yes, no, absolutely. So, yeah, if we can, Kwame, can we pick up, oh, sorry, Andrew.
I was just going to ask, how does food get onto the actual wards? Because it's a long time since I was an inpatient here, but it used to come on a great big train and it was all heated, including your salad. So, you know, so I was just hoping it made its way differently onto the wards. Yeah.
I followed the team around, and I was struggling to find something in my inbox that I found, so I'll add that off as well. We've got a supply from a company called Steamplicity now that's a really good menu of choices and very nutritious food. And that's basically steam cooked food. So you can order from your menu. The advantage and that plate of food is delivered to the ward. They've got a special microwave that basically steam cooks the meal in the package. And then the advantage compared to the trolley is it's ready when you are, not the other way around. The thing I found in my inbox as well, so the team won an award last October, a national industry award, and it was under the Best Food Waste Prevention prize. And there were some really big organisations in there. And I remember I found from Stephen his notes saying we've been shortlisted, and they actually came through and won it. So there's been a lot of work going on in that team to really, I suppose you say, compared to the reputation of hospital food.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just thinking in terms of, we can certainly find out about place this year, whether or not we've got some, and apologies to those online, my battery ran out, so I'll just plug myself back in again. They went down very quickly. But we can also find out, perhaps get an explanation around the scoring, which is slightly, as you say, slightly lower around fit, because interestingly, the feedback we've been getting ourselves is actually very positive. So, but that may be, as you say, sometimes it's because people just don't like what's being offered. Also, this may be a slight legacy thing as well. I'm not quite sure.
It looks like a point in time, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
being placed in September 2022.
Yeah.
We're now 9 months on.
Yeah.
As Yvonne said, good progress has been made.
Yeah, and I think it's, and there's, you know, there's the lead up period as well to that, you know, depending on whether there were changes going on. I think there was a question, if I remember before my battery called out, there was a question, did the food supply change recently? This is from Emma.
That was two years ago. It's shifted to Steve Felicity. So
Oh, so that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, because Emma said she was in Ward 17 last April and the food wasn't great. Yeah, yeah.
Can I just check the issue of patient choice? And I think, yeah, it's a while ago since I was an inpatient, but as a card carrying vegetarian, it was never it's a bit of a challenge. And also, I mean, we've got, we want to know that there's more culturally specific, you know, choice.
Yeah.
So I presume that's all covered in the.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we get a hold of a copy of the menu, actually, I think you'll be struck by the number of choices on there.
Right.
Yeah. I've got the cost of it.
I try. I mean, Stephen, when he was showing me around, said to me, "Here, I think I had to eat sort of 3 or 4 food on trial." And really, I feel like you're judging the cake. So I have to, yeah. It's nice supplements to it.
Goes with the job.
I definitely, yeah, commend Steve for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Kwame, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, so should he come back? Should I invite him back in October, probably, so that I can answer all these questions?
Would people like Stephen to come in or just have an explanation circulated? What would colleagues like?
Happy to have something circulated.
Something circulated. Can we ask Stephen to circulate just to give a bit of narrative around that, please, Kwame? Thank you very much. Thanks. That's great. Okay. All right. Anything else on that report? No? Thank you. We're going on then to the membership and engagement managers report. Kwame, are you picking up on this or?
No, that's me, Alison. It's Louis.
Oh, you're there. Sorry, Louis.
I've just materialised.
I do beg your pardon. Over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Just a couple of points from me, just keeping it brief. A bit of context around the membership number. So we're on 1862. So we're probably getting around 350 to 400 a year, which is a lot compared to our membership. So a year ago, we were losing 100 a year until we did the revamp and the database cleanse. Now we're getting up to 400 members. So for the first year, that would have been about 20–25%. We want to increase the rate in the future, but we're in the right direction now. And the other point to make is just on the governor activity sheet, there's a lot of engagement and activity happening that the governors are doing. It's really pleasing to see we're getting a lot more members and feedback generated and creating new links in the community. Long may it continue. Very pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'd like to put on record thanks to all the fantastic engagement with governors and getting out and about. You know, we really do appreciate the effort going in, and also actually it's just, you know, it's one of those areas we know is really important. But it's you know, around sharing the load of doing that engagement, because it is time consuming. We appreciate that. So thank you. Was there any questions on the report? Shirley?
Just ask about the total membership. Is there like a target or like a percentage of the population that we aim at or anything like that? Or we?
I know they used to be in the old day. I'm thinking back a few years now in terms of percentages of your population. Have we got a specific figure now, Louis? Do you know, or Kwan?
I was going to say, given my involvement in the past, I was absolutely shocked to see the number of members that we've got now, because that is so low, so much lower than it was, you know, sort of say 2010 or so.
Yeah.
Even then it was going down. We were looking for ways of actually getting more members, including sort of encouraging people who were in the hospital and their relatives to sign up. But the number that we had, I can't remember offhand what it was, but it was considerably more than we've got as members now.
Yeah. Well, I think certainly post-COVID, and I know, Louis, you did a lot of cleansing of the membership, didn't you? Because it did look a lot healthier, several thousand more.
Yeah.
But actually, once Louis had contacted, some people had gone, you know, they'd gone away. Others said no, they weren't bothered about sort of being connected again. But so hence we got the baseline. So we now know we need to get that back up, and that's why we need engagement.
Can I say, you know, when I sort of come back as a governor, I was talking to all my neighbours and they were all saying, what's that? We didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
We didn't know you could be a member.
Yeah.
Or even stand as a governor. So I think there is a lack of awareness amongst the general population that somehow needs to be sort of.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's one of the things that Louis and I have been working hard on in the various kind of trips, right, to try and get people understanding, well, what's the benefits?
Yes.
Why should I do it?
Yeah.
And we have to continually work at that.
When I've been at events and you're trying to stop people to get them to sign up and you're saying membership, they kind of go, "Are we all members?" Like, well, it's the NHS, so you know, why do you need to be a member?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the understanding that it's as a foundation trust, there's a slightly different concept of membership.
And once you get them to stop, you can explain these things, but actually just trying to actually, you know, get them to stop. Putting your foot out. It's a bit difficult.
Yeah. Actually, it made me think, through our comms, do we have any interest, you know, local media giving us a hand with this? If we can do a spread in the local media, just so that people can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely something we can do. Yeah.
Louis, do you have good contacts with the local media?
I do have some contact. Yes. So
Okay, good.
do you have some? Do you have something that could help as well?
The day job is running a communications agency, so we. So if I can help, please reach out.
Definitely, I'll be in touch. Definitely, thank you.
Brilliant. Also adding to what Louis and Nick just said, things like the local media. There's a magazine called Phone Box that goes free to 32,000 homes once a month. And they're always looking for editorials, so having something in there rather than what you might think MK Citizen or on MK.
I call those the free sheets, and obviously the Phone Box is only. Then you have Hogstye End in Woburn Sands. There's Gate News around Gayhurst. And so they're myriad. Most areas have a free sheet. And again, if there's a standard bit of text that we can put in about the benefits of being a member.
The difference in some of the free sheets are A4 folded over to A5 in black and white compared to multicolour. So getting it right and getting the distribution. But I think between Nick and Louis, get the word out across the whole of Milton Keynes, and also drifting into some of the neighbouring areas as well, which are also served by this hospital.
Oh, absolutely. We've got a big catchment area.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's also been some work done with parish councils that Louis been sort of trying to make it like that. And obviously a number of those are producing the local magazines and kind of stuff. So there's a myriad of things going on.
The council run a parish forum three times a year. Maybe ask for a slot on one of those meetings to go and present.
Yeah, the parish council. The parish council members are coming up to that.
It is held in the council chamber, and there's 48 parishes. I can't tell you how many go each time, but it's probably over half. Andrea, what can you remember?
Most do. Most attend. Most send somebody, and everybody gets the minutes. So you know, clerks will.
So that can
send that
down to the
parish
councillors and then out to the parish residents.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's just so we don't need it, we can do it ourselves.
I think Louis used quite a bit of shoe leather, didn't you, going around all the various parishes? Yeah.
I did, and mileage too. Yeah, but yeah, we have actually had an article. And newsletters in parishes are periodically. This is something that we do every year, once or twice a year. Sign up for members, various articles. So it's just something you just keep doing, and you know, offering the links to sign up and things like that. And
no, absolutely. And you can guarantee there will always, you will always find people who said that, they're not aware of it and come. So it's just a question. It's a constant. Actually, we just really appreciate that it's never ending. We need to keep communicating. But thank you, your offer. That's really, really helpful. Look for be prepared, Louis. There'll be lots more going on. That's
yeah.
It. Any other?
I am.
You sound like a scout leader there. Be prepared.
Absolutely. Anything else, Louis, you want to add? No.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your report. Lead Governor's report. I did manage to speak to Bev. She rang me from the airport, and she did say that she didn't have a lot of extra because we've got some constitutional review and stuff coming up in the autumn. So she said actually she will be inputting, but she didn't really have any extra to feedback to people today, unless there were any questions anybody had for her, which we can flag up with her. No? Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully she's on her way back. She's still supposed to be in Edinburgh. It's not ideal. Health Watch, just wondering, have we got, is Maxine on?
Maxine had a health emergency, so yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Perhaps, if perhaps we can ask her when when things are settled, Kwame, if there's anything she wants circulated to the governors, we could make sure that's sent round. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Okay, motions and questions from the council. Any questions or anything the governors would like to feedback at this particular time? I haven't had any sent through, so no, Kwame, you haven't got anything, have you? Any
Is it the AOB? No questions, but we have the AOB.
We got the AOB,
No
yeah,
questions, no
I've got
questions.
for Haiderston.
Apart from, I think Andrea had questions, but I think she asked.
I did,
them.
but I think they've been answered by Joe.
Oh, they have. Oh, good. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Just any other business? Yes, just one thing I need to raise. Apologies. Haider Hussain, one of our non-execs, he's up for reappointment. There was a slight delay because with annual reports and things. I'm afraid it hasn't been circulated around. I've done a brief report around Haider, asking for a recommendation from Council of Governors. So Kwame will circulate that, and then obviously any questions, please let me know.
I mean,
And
it was circulated earlier, probably everyone. had to
is it
get
done
it.
already?
It's been done already.
That's what it was just a few minutes for the meeting.
Really? Oh, right. Okay, thanks for that, Kwame. There we are. We only talked about it this afternoon. Yeah, that's great. So if there are any questions, please let me know. And obviously we can
Do you
reconvene.
need our confirmation today?
As soon as possible would be great. Thank you very much. And obviously we can reconvene or convene a remuneration committee if we need to. But hopefully, I think most of you met and seen Haider. And as I say, I've given a brief report, so please do let me know if there's any questions. And I will answer them.
No, I just wanted to say a couple of things in support if we were going to have a discussion, but.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I mean, we can note those now if you would like to, William.
Yes, I mean, it seemed like a long time ago, but I was involved in his recruitment. I think it was 2019, just before lockdown.
Yeah.
And, he was one of the outstanding candidates at that point. And as the paper highlights, I mean, he's been, made a major contribution since then.
Yeah.
He's also, which is mentioned in the paper, chair of the Charitable Funds Committee, which I'm not also sit on. So again, he does that remarkably well. So he's always a Douglas brief. So and there's also a reference in the paper to the fact that he's also involved with the Bob ICB.
Yes.
He is a member of the board. I'm not. So I think there's a number of really important things that kind of reinforce the fact that we want him to continue as an NED.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, so I'll wait to hear back from colleagues. Kwame?
Just wondering whether the new governors were introduced, Leslie and Kat.
And Kat. Oh, online. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Yes, welcome. Would you? Have you met all your governor colleagues? Or?
We've met.
Yeah.
This is my first time meeting you all, mostly. So, hi.
Good to see you. Yes, apologies. I should have said hello to everybody. It's good to see you here. Thank you very much for joining us. That's marvellous. Is there somebody else online? Leslie, yes. I know Leslie from 30 years ago, so I forget. I've forgotten that, we haven't worked together for 30 but hello. Yes, Leslie, welcome to you too.
It doesn't seem like 30 years.
No, it doesn't. And is there anybody online, Kwame, that I've missed? Apologies.
No.
No.
It's
Right. Just to
fine, yeah.
clarify, I think it's important that people understand what they need to do in relation to the portal for ITER. Do you want that, an email confirmation from members?
I think, Kwame, is that
Is
that's what you're
want,
asking, isn't
an
it?
email from members to
For,
confirm?
for Hader?
For Hader,
Yes,
You
want an email
confirmation,
confirmation
don't you?
from members. Governors.
okay.
Kwame, do you want to?
They also-
come
they-
back to you?
Yeah, please, yeah, please, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
Yes.
please.
Yes. The answer is yes. What's the question?
Friday, doesn't it? I'm just going off the clock here slightly. Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, I
Okay.
think it's important that people go away with an understanding what action they have to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, because I haven't seen the email, so yeah, I thought it might be on there. That's fine. Hopefully everybody is happy with that. Okay, any other business at all? Anybody got Keith?
Two things, one of which I suppose is a slight declaring this, but not a real interest. Wondering whether the hospital would be interested in participating in what's called MK Can, which is being run by the food bank.
Yes.
We're looking for organisation to take on sections of the 10 kilometres of cans, which would be 132,000 cans. I appreciate that probably we've got our own charity here, but it would be maybe some of the hospital staff would like to participate.
Yes.
And they can find out on the MK Food Bank website, or if they contact me, I've been involved in it from the start.
Brilliant. I did.
16th of October, it is Monday the 16th, is World Food Day.
16th of October, World Food Day.
The second thing is, I think I need to go to the ophthalmology department because I'm looking at you.
Yes.
I'm looking at you. Different background.
I never used to do this, but I was told, like John Blakesley, some meetings ago, said to me, you really ought to be online as well, because of course, supposedly it makes it easier for those who are online. I find it very disconcerting because I can see this movement and I forget that it's me.
Well, halfway through the meeting, I'm looking, I've got stiff neck now.
It's causing a lot of trouble in this meeting. You're giving Joey's report.
Alison's also, in fact, they got a mirror behind him, that one.
Oh, it's like
The background.
yeah.
That's the disconcerting bit, it's not the background.
It's not.
No, it's you.
But we can't see the traffic going
No,
past.
Joe, I will. I'll have to remember for this. I must turn my background up. I've completely forgotten. I'm somewhere totally different. Oh, there's two of me. So,
There's
yeah.
about 4 Putin. You're not, I'm trying to draw a similarity.
I was not thinking it's-
Very disconcerted. Thank you, I must remember that. Thanks, yeah, I will remember that. So any other? No.
Nope.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. The forward agenda planner, anybody got any comments on that at all?
Seems very sensible.
Yeah, good. And our next meeting is 25th of October, although we will have our annual, is that our annual meeting?
No, the annual.
No, the annual meeting is the 9th, that's it. 25th for the Alderman and 9th for the.
On the 25th of October, Alison, we've got there's quite a lot in there actually.
Yeah.
And one of the key things in there I've been spending some significant time on is what Joe was talking about, the launch of the MyCare portal, to have a demonstration of it using an anonymous person so that we can actually see how it integrates,
How it might work.
if that's practical.
He will love that suggestion.
He will, won't he? I was going to
I've answered your question.
Right. Kwame, can we make a note of that? So, see if we can get a demo of the MyCare portal? That would be interesting, actually. Yes, we'll look very carefully at the agenda. I mean, there may be things on there. I can't remember offhand. I haven't got it in front of me. But
It's got allyship, Alcoholics Anonymous, Terence Higgins, launching MyCare portal plus the standard items. So it's quite
that is quite,
busy.
good, isn't it? Yeah,
A
yeah,
couple of those could possibly be postponed to the next meeting.
yeah. I think, Kwame, shall we, can we look at that? Just in terms of the time? Yeah, I think we may need to be a bit more pragmatic about that. Great. Okay, yes.
It's only 5:30 now, so we've done an hour and a half. We've done well to get us through that. So
Yeah,
that'll be a quick review.
yes, yeah. No, that's fair enough. We'll have a look at that. And also I was just thinking, actually, just to pick up on the MyCam, I'm just wondering whether we can take that, because we could maybe do for comms, couldn't we get it through comms? Could we do that? Flag it up? And whether or not it's something that we would partner up with through our hospital charity as well, that may be with Vanessa. So I'll mention that to Vanessa as well.
Don't tell her it was me.
Oh, I will. But yeah, no, that's it. I saw, funnily enough, I saw that today. A notification came up on my phone. I thought that was very interesting. Very interesting.
Was you've acknowledged that there's obviously the hospital charity. This isn't about raising money so much as generating food.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Which actually, if we're feeding our community better, they're not coming here. I would imagine quite so often.
So the amount of donations is down significantly. We're having to go out and buy a lot more than we did.
Okay.
Is that post-pandemic?
Yeah.
Right.
The need is up, but the donations are down.
Donations are down.
It's not as high priority and cost of living is also.
Very obviously, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking with Vanessa is partly as well her contacts and that sort of thing. So just get the word out as far as possible.
The world record is unofficially is about 90,000, so we're going for a 50% uplift.
Wow. Yeah.
And Guinness Book of Records, which I used to have to read as a boy, I'm going to hopefully do it. Come and do it. But they charge £10,000 to come and do it, so that's going to be sponsorship to.
I think it's a good way of raising the issue, reinforcing the issue again.
And we aren't aware of any other food bank in the UK that's on this track at the moment.
No, it sounds quite, it's really sort of innovative. So
It isn't coming here though, it's around Campbell Park. You can't have it coming through the car park here.
have a practice for that new electricity supply, couldn't we? Brilliant. That's lovely. Anything else from anyone before we close the meeting?
Just one thing. I had to go to A&E recently.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic, I have to say. I mean, how they managed to stay good humoured and calm and
really
kind and everything else, I don't quite know. Just one thing that did slightly disturb me, and that is when you're in the waiting room, the window at the back is partly covered out at the bottom, but at the top it's clear. And I kept seeing a small person appear. So I think there's a kids' playground there or something where there's a climbing frame or something that they can get on. But a couple of kids kept appearing and could see into the waiting room.
Oh, it just depends.
So I don't know what.
I'll go on. I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on.
Is it a level difference?
I don't know. I think they were climbing up on something maybe.
Oh, right.
But yeah, they found it fascinating.
So looking into the waiting room for A&E, they were looking into the waiting
room. They were looking into the waiting room.
Oh.
It might be our new nursing apprentices. Are we starting young with them, are we? Or?
Yeah, that's
like colleagues were praying. Thanks for bringing it up. I'll go and have a look.
Get the police drone up.
That's strange.
It wasn't happening very often. They were coming up, having a good go up, and then disappearing again, and then coming up.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where the climate is.
Yeah, I was thinking I can't remember it is.
Yeah, I don't know how they're getting up there, but
No,
you know, they were clearly up and sitting on something.
Yeah,
and
well,
then,
I'm looking in. Right.
You know.
Oh, okay.
No, I was surprised as you.
Can I ask for an addendum to the minutes that when Yvonne's done her research, it's in there, but we don't lose track of it. It's an action point.
I'm going back that way, actually. I'll have a look. Yeah, that's very odd. And considering the amount of the care and the planning for you know, all around there.
Yeah.
Particularly with the new urgent care centre and stuff as well. Yeah, that's surprising. But anyway, never mind. We'll look into it. We can have a look. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you all. See you in the autumn.
Summer.
Not believe how quickly that's going.